up, YouTubers? Johnza here, and welcome back to another episode of Zawcasters. I forgot what we talked about last time. I think it was definitely On the Wheel that we talked about last time. It's been 2 weeks since I did a recording on this. Normally I do two, like two every 2 weeks, pretty much. Before we get into it, I do have a little bit of an interesting story. Now, I don't even know how to freaking describe it. Also, there's a fly buzzing around my room. Fuck off. How are you even getting your fly? Well, I guess you're my co-host today is Mr. Fly. Say hi, Mr. Fly. Okay, anyways. So, a little bit of an interesting story. So, there's a certain friend of mine who is, well, I guess not who is, but like, there's someone that I'm kind of avoiding right now just because of a bit of an argument. We've had, like, probably already over a month ago, but I still haven't really gotten over it exactly. But, yeah, I'm not going to get into too many details about what happened between us. We are still friends. It's, yeah, just a little complicated right now. But, so the thing is, I was going over to the Pen to go eat dinner there. I normally decide to have A&W there because why not? And basically, it's right when I get to the Pen, like I'm on the bus, arriving at the Pen, and I look at the bus area, like I guess where everyone normally waits for the bus, and I saw said friend there, which is funny because it's like probably the first time I've ever seen them like out in public without like planning for it in the first place. Because normally whenever we do see each other, it's normally like we plan to hang out or whatever. Or whenever I see them at work or something. Because sometimes I visit them at their work. They can't visit me at my work because it's a warehouse. I don't think random people are allowed in a warehouse. So, but yeah, I saw them there. I don't think they ever noticed me there. But like since we've had a bit of our issues, I kind of just like walked the opposite direction when I got off the bus. Luckily, they were at the like opposite end, like away, like the furthest away from the Pen at the time. So luckily, I didn't have to like walk past them to get to the Pen. But I was definitely nervous when I saw them. I was like, oh god, I really don't want to talk to this person right now. Like, yeah, because in other circumstances, if I wasn't really like upset with them, I would actually go over and say hi. But yeah, like I said, I'm not really. Like I also said, I'm not getting into details. If anything, we probably like fully made up by now, maybe at the point of this video coming out. But you never know. But yeah, Mr. Fly, you just love to roll around my desk here, don't ya? Like, ooh, what a very interesting story. Can I be your new friend? No, I will kill you once this podcast is over. Wait a minute. Oh, dang. I saw a good opportunity to maybe, like, slap him, but he flew away. Anyways, nothing's really come up in these past 2 weeks, so I'm going to be going with what's on the wheel, which we don't have too much left on the wheel. I know I said probably previous episode I was going to probably add more stuff to the wheel. Get off my iPad, Fly. Go away. But, yeah, I mean, we still have some, options in here. So, yeah, we got, like, I think, like, 9. Yeah, 9. We have 9 other topics to talk about on the wheel, but I think maybe after, like, this episode or the next episode, I will make sure to add more on here later on. Like, maybe I'll try to go through some of the games, like, even, like, well, I don't know about Pokemon Violet. I think I did talk about that in a previous podcast, like maybe a month or two ago. I don't think I ever talked about Sonic Frontiers, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. In fact, is that even still on here, Mario plus Rabbids? Because I think I did put Kingdom Bell in here. No, I think we did already talk about it, so yeah. But yeah, let's. Oh, I probably should have the volume up so you guys can hear the wheel spin. So, spin. It's on the dot, so I'm actually gonna pick this one. Okay. Well, let's see. Out of everything that's here, I think I would like to talk about. You know what? I'll talk about DK64. It's been on here. I've been wanting to talk about it for a while. So let's go with DK64. I'm just gonna get rid of that on the wheel now since we already have it. I probably have talked about DK64 in the past, but I'm pretty sure that was like back in the 2 years ago era when I was first doing the podcast. But yeah, we are also over like 40 episodes at this point. I think this is episode 43 of the podcast. So we've made quite a lot of podcasts and talked about a lot of stuff before. But yeah. Anyways, Donkey Kong 64. Basically, it's a game that has like some mixed feelings towards some other people. I myself like love the game. I do. It does have its like awful moments, sure, because let's be honest about the game. It's not really a gray polished game, but it's still fun to play. It is pretty fun. And the one other thing that other people do not like about DK64 is the collectibles, because there are so many collectibles in the game. I actually don't mind it because I think normally when I decide to actually play through Donkey Kong 64, I think I actually just try to collect everything, which is kind of fun. And I think since I've like known the game for years too, like I kind of have a general idea where everything is for starters. And I'm pretty sure my quickest time with getting 100%, I think was like over 10 hours, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, I haven't actually opened up the game in a while, but yeah. It's basically a huge ass game between like, I guess 8 worlds? I'm gonna say 8 because we have 2 other worlds that are like, they're like sub-worlds. You have like the main open world section, DK Island, where it links you to all the other like worlds, I guess, like Jungle Japes, Angry Aztec, and all of them. And then there's also Hideout Helm, which is not really too much of a level, if I'm being completely honest. Like, there's not really as much collectibles there. I think the only collectibles you get in there are like 2 banana fairies, a battle crown, 5 banana medals, which you don't even have the small bananas for. No golden bananas in there whatsoever. And 1 key, which normally for each world you get a key, which that's why I guess I also should say there's 8, so 8. If anything, you can count kind of Helm and DK Isle to be like the same place, I guess, kind of. But yeah, other than that, there's like 7 other worlds where normally there's about 25 golden bananas in a world. You can collect 5 for each Kong. You can collect 100 small bananas for all the Kongs. You can get banana medals by collecting small bananas up to 75, and then you get the banana medal. There are blueprints, which those kind of count for golden bananas too, but like you kind of drop them off to this guy named Snipe. Snipe? Is he Snipe? Snide, that's his name. You give the blueprints to him, and then he gives you the golden banana, so that'll be the golden banana for that specific area, pretty much. So, yeah. Yeah, there's also a few other, like, shops as well in the game where you can get more, like, abilities, guns, and music, which is interesting. Funny enough, I think one of the first trailers for DK64, I think it showed DK having an actual gun. I'm pretty sure back in the day. But I guess they changed it to Coconut Gun to become a bit more like kid friendly and everything. But yeah, no, I think he literally had an actual shotgun in one of the old trailers back then, which was crazy. But yeah, basically, you want to collect enough stuff to like stop K. Rool from trying to blow up DK Isle. You have to also rescue your friends too, which the 5 Kongs that you have. Well, you start off with DK, and then you have to go out and save Diddy Kong, Lanky Kong, Tiny Kong, and Chunky Kong. And yeah. But yeah, everyone pretty much has like special abilities for themselves, their own guns, and their own musics, which kind of leaves them up with 5 abilities, plus a little bit of extra upgrades like extra ammo, extra music power, and all that. I think there's also like ass slams too, which I think they're more like simian slams. Like that's like one of the moves you get like at the beginning, obviously, but like there's upgrades to that when I guess the first one you get is when you get into World 5 in Fungi Forest, and yeah, basically you get 3 different moves from Cranky in his shop, and basically it's a pad move where normally if you find pads with the Kong's face on them, then they can use them. Oh, hello. Why did a sign to iTunes pop up on my iPad here? But anyways, yeah, there's this they're their pad moves, which they have their own specific pad move they can use. DK's is Simian Blast. Was it Simian Blast? No, it's. I think it is. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the full names, but I've been mostly just going for nicknames. Um, yeah. I think, no, it was Baboon Blast. That's what it was. And basically, it kind of teleports. Well, not teleports. Donkey Kong gets shoot up right into the air, into these bit of cannons that are just in the sky, to either like collect golden bananas, or have or unlock something in the level for it. So there's that. Diddy Kong gets Simian Spring, which gives him a super high jump at that certain spot to get to some certain areas that no other Kong can really get to. There's Baboon Balloon, where Lanky inflates itself into a balloon to also get into high places. There's Tiny Kong, which hers is just a teleport, pretty much. And the thing is, there are like teleport pads within the map, or within like each world, which any Kong can use, but these specific pads are specifically for Tiny to use and teleport, so there's that. And then for Chunky, his pad turns him invisible, so that's that one. Another certain move that everyone has is their barrel move. Well, actually, you know what? No, I'll go back to the barrel moves in a second. But then there's their, I guess, signature move, I guess. I don't know what to call them. They're like their other kind of moves that aren't barrel based. But basically, DK's is that he can pull certain levers within different worlds to activate stuff. Diddy Kong gets Chimpy Charge, which that he can charge into stuff that, like some certain buttons or something to activate stuff. Lanky gets Orangutan Stan, which he can climb. He does a handstand and he climbs up steep slopes. Tiny has Ponytail Twirl, which she could literally like hover for a little bit, like kind of spin around a little bit and stay up in the air longer. And then Chunky has Primate Punch, where he can knock down gates or certain like giant doors just to get through to somewhere. And then we get to the barrel moves, which is why, like, for Lanky, this is why I say barrels for last. But for Donkey, he literally becomes invincible when he jumps into his barrel. They're like small little barrels with their faces on them, and obviously when they jump into them, specific stuff happens. Donkey Kong literally becomes invincible, so like nothing can hurt him, and he can just attack everything. Diddy Kong gets Rocket Barrel Boost, which obviously he has his rocket jetpack with his guns out, which we'll talk about the guns in a little bit. Lanky gets Sprint, which kind of puts him on his puts him in his handstand mode, but like he goes like pretty fast, honestly. Not really much of a difference between that and his other move I previously made. With Tiny's, she can become tiny. And then Chunky's barrel, Hunky Chunky, he's huge. It's funny how one becomes small and the other becomes huge just by the barrels. So the other ones are their guns, which normally you have to like shoot some like switches that have the logos of the certain gun icon, which most of the Kong's guns are just fruits or some kind of food. Which Donkey Kong has his coconut shooter. Uh, Diddy has his peanut poppers, which he has like two small guns and shoots peanuts. Uh, there's Grape Shooter for Lanky, which he shoots out grapes, more like a sniper. There's Feather Bow, which Tiny has a little bow that she shoots feathers from, the one that isn't a food. And then we have Pineapple Launcher, which looks like a rocket launcher, and obviously it shoots pineapples, so there's that. And then the last thing that they all get is music, which normally these moves are kind of broken in some cases because if you use it anywhere near an enemy, they will get they'll kind of like appear up in the sky after you use it, and then they will just instantly die. So, if you need to one shot an enemy, there you go. But another good reason for them is that there's these music pads that if you go and obviously use an instrument on them, it unlocks something in that certain area. Which Donkey Kong gets bongos, Diddy Kong gets his own guitar, Lanky gets a trombone, Tiny has a saxophone, and Chunky gets the triangle. Which, if you guys don't know, a triangle is actually an instrument. You might, if people actually don't know, because I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't know, but if you don't know, now you know. A triangle is an instrument. And a lot of time, like when I was younger, I didn't really know much about like instrument names. I think I knew like all the other like music, like instruments the Kong use. But for Tinies, I always just called it the tuba for some reason. But yeah, because I didn't exactly know what a saxophone was. But yeah, that's basically all the different moves that each of the Kongs have. And yeah, they kind of help them kind of progress to the levels to grab some certain golden bananas to get to places where they weren't able to get to before. And yeah. And basically, also, for each world I mentioned, there was also a key. I don't know if I actually mentioned there was a key for each world, but each world has its own boss, which after you beat the boss, you get a key for it, which the game kind of gives you some repeats, like only really two, but like, yeah. Because the first boss you fight is it's like an armadillo. I can't remember the full name of him. Which you fight with Donkey. Diddy's the next one up, and he fights a dragon, which is Dragon. I think, I don't know what his name is either. And then in the third level, you actually use Tiny for that one, and you face a Jack-in-the-Box named Mad Jack. I know that name. There's a pufferfish in level 4 that Lanky faces, and you get key 4. And then number 5, you actually fight the dragon again, but with Chunky, and it's actually a bit of a harder fight, especially since you need Hunky Chunky, and he actually has more phases too. And then the 6th one, you go with DK again, but it's against the Armadillo again, which once again, that's the second repeat. And obviously he has a bit more phases, pretty much to him, and yeah. And then in the last one, there's Cutout, which is literally just a cutout of King K. Rool. And technically you first enter the door with Lanky, but technically any Kong can do it, pretty much. It's basically to the point where you just kind of land in the cannon. Like, if you miss Cutout, like, because basically what that one is, you basically go into these cannons to shoot at Cutout because it kind of appears in 4 different sections. And you have to make sure you hit them, and if you miss, then that Kong's kind of considered dead, and you just kind of pop in as a different Kong, because there's pretty much like the tag barrel in the middle, so that's where you kind of respawn as a different Kong, which I didn't talk about the tag barrels yet, but basically that's how you switch your characters. There are tag barrels within like every level in certain places, and you just kind of switch Kongs from there, pretty much. But yeah, it does get a bit tedious, especially when you need like a certain Kong to get through one spot. So you have to kind of go all the way and find like the closest tag barrel to switch and whatnot. Especially where like if you're going through a certain spot where you can't actually get to a tag barrel for a while, and there's like multiple stuff for different other Kongs. It does get a bit annoying in that case. So yeah. Basically, towards the end, the amount of collectibles you also need, you pretty much need to have like half of all the golden bananas within the game. So that's a big requirement that you need. Um, you don't really need any banana fairies, but there's also an island which is Banana Fairy Isle, which normally tend to leave the reward for getting all the banana fairies, which are 20 in total, by the way. You have to take pictures of them, and then they get brought back. But basically, your reward is one giant new golden banana, which actually adds your total of golden bananas in the game is 201. So, yeah. um, which is kind of funny because once you collect it, Tiny Tenderly gets 6 in DK Isle. So that's a bit funny. But yeah, you don't tendally need any of like the fairies, but they do kind of upgrade your orange and crystal coconut counts. Which oranges, they're like bombs you can throw. Crystals actually help you stay in your like barrel form more. Like remember when I was talking about the barrel abilities? You obviously can't stay like that forever. Like it kind of drains out your crystal coconuts. And actually, after you visit Fairy Isle, you can actually get the Shockwaves abilities, which I mean, can also one-shot an enemy, but also it takes a while to charge up. And then there's these dirt paths where you can actually get these rainbow coins, and basically within like all the levels and everything, you can find coins for the Kongs so they can actually buy these abilities. So, yeah. But yeah, you can find these rainbow coins, and even if you don't even have like all the Kongs like unlocked yet, they like those Kongs will still get the extra from the rainbow coin once you save them. Like normally for a rainbow coin you get 5 for each Kong. So say if I didn't have Chunky yet, I could literally like get a rainbow coin and then Chunky would already start off with 5 coins like immediately. So that's pretty handy. um, but yeah, what else was there to talk about? I mean, I guess I can go through the different levels. I kind of already mentioned two. Well, I mean, I've already mentioned TKL and Hideout Helm, but I also did mention the first 2 levels of the game, which is Jungle Japes and Avery Aztec. Which obviously, as you guys can know, it's a jungle, and then Aztec is a desert level. Which within the first 2 levels, you can actually save like most of the Kongs already. You already start off with DK. And then in Jungle Japes, you can actually save Diddy, and in Angry Aztec, you can save both Lanky and Tiny. So there's that. Next up is Frantic Factory, which is obviously in a factory, and that's where you can pretty much find Chunky. So pretty much by level 3, you basically have all your Kongs. So yeah. And then you go on to Gloomy Galleon, which is a big water level. There's like 2 sections where like 2, I guess, sections where there's like almost nothing but water, which you can obviously like go underwater and explore. Luckily, you don't need air apparently as Kongs. Apparently, the Kong family have they have not scales. What is it? It's like I think it's gills. Gills. I think gills is what it is. It helps you like breathe underwater. I guess like if you're a fish or something. But yeah, there's stuff to like pretty much do underwater around there. So yeah, I mean there is a few things like above the water you can still do, but like most of it's like a whole water level. Yeah, Fungi Forest, which is basically a forest filled with mushrooms. Well, obviously not all of them, but like I'm pretty sure all the trees are practically mushrooms. um, in fact, I'm pretty sure there's one section of that level that has a giant mushroom. Um, then you move on to Crystal Caves, which is obviously Crystal Caves. And then Creepy Castle, just pretty much a castle. Well, you don't start off on the inside. You're pretty much exploring the outside, but you can go in certain parts of the castle with certain Kongs. So, yeah. Yeah, those are the different levels of the game, pretty much. So, yeah, a lot of stuff you have to do within the game. There are definitely some like collectibles that are hard to get. I think mostly they're golden bananas that you grab, but like let's just say some of them are hard to get rather than others, which I guess obviously 100% of the game is not very easy to do. But in my case, like I can kind of get over some of these hard, difficult spots. I think there's like only two specific gold bananas, maybe three actually. Now I'm thinking about it, that are hard to obtain still for me. But you know. But there's also like two other collectibles I didn't mention. There are these certain coins as well. Like there's these special coins that you need to get. Like when I say need, I mean need to actually beat the game. Which one of them is the Nintendo coin, and one is the Rare coin. Which because Rare, the I guess development team made DK64, but obviously since Donkey Kong's Nintendo, that's also why. But basically, for those, to get those, you have to play two certain arcade games. And the first one for the Nintendo coin, you can play that in Frantic Factory. You have to do a few things before you can actually play it, which I don't exactly remember how. Like, I don't think it's that hard. I think actually you do need to do a Baboom Blast section with DK, and then he has his switch that he can use, which the switch actually activates the arcade machine, and basically you play the original Donkey Kong game, if you guys remember that old arcade game. Basically, you kind of go through 4 levels, and then you get a golden banana for it, but then you have to do it again, which is more of a harder state, to get the Nintendo coin from it, which is a bit hard to do unless you know what you're doing. Like, it only takes me like a few attempts to actually like get it nowadays, but I remember when I was first getting the Nintendo coin, I was losing my shit. I was like, bro, come on. Also, you might have just heard a ding from my iPad here. I'll move that over here so you guys don't hear that. But yeah, I will say that was probably like one of the more difficult things I had to take care of before, but nowadays it's really not too much of a problem. And then there's the other arcade game, which you can find with Cranky in his shop. Just like the fact, the way you actually get to play it is he asks you to grab 15 banana medals, which I think I mentioned before. You need 15. I think that's what I said. But basically, you get 15 banana medals, you go back to see Cranky, he lets you play a certain minigame, and you have to get a certain score, and then within the minigame, the rare coin comes down, and once you pick it up, then you can pretty much die and you get the coin, so. That one I don't think is as hard, because one of the ways I actually realized what you could do, you can probably just stay in the first level, because all you need to do is get like, I think like 5,000 points or something, which you can just do within the first level. You don't have to move on to the second one, which is more harder to do in the second level. So just kind of like stay in the first level. You can kind of almost complete the, actually you can complete the rocket ship, you just don't go in it and move on to the next level. Which I guess it's hard to explain what kind of game this is. Basically, you kind of go around, collect rocket parts. It's like a jetpack, like fly around type of game where you're shooting aliens as well. So yeah, you basically collect, or you grab like pieces of the rocket, I guess, to assemble it. Then you grab fuel to fuel it, so you move on to the next level, pretty much. But obviously, you wouldn't want to move on to the next level. You just kind of want to stay in the first level and get the coin, pretty much. So yeah, those are like 2 secret items, because it, like, whenever you look through like your main item total for like different items, they don't show the coins until like later, or at least until you get them. Which, funny enough, I never even knew about the coins like until I actually got to K. Rool's main room, which he's already kind of gone and left the room by that point. But the certain door, there's 2 banana fairies that were stuck behind it, and key 8. Which normally, also these keys, they're there to help you. Like they're for K. Lumsy, which is a Kremlin who didn't want to smash DK Island, so K. Rool locked him up. So yeah, you have to like try to free him. I forgot that's also the reason why you're going to these different levels is to save this dude. Um, yeah. Oh god, I hate when I have brain farts. um, but yeah, at the store, I saw there was 2 coins, and the only hint I got when I got to the door was like, I wonder if Cranky can help me with this. And after that, I was like lost for a while. I think eventually when I discovered YouTube, I did like figure it out after that. But yeah, and luckily because there's another door beforehand too, which is another thing I mentioned with battle crowns. I already had 4 by the time, so I was all good and ready to go there for that certain door in Hideout Helm. But basically, also what the battle crowns are, there's these like K rule pads that you kind of have to fight a certain amount of, well, not a certain amount, but like you have to keep fighting enemies within a time limit, and then you get a battle crown. So, yeah, that's another thing. Also, I didn't mention before these bosses, you need to collect small bananas, and for each level, you need like more and more and more, like within each level. Um, which I think like the last boss, I wouldn't say like the last boss of the game, but like the last one in the seventh world, I think you need like 400 small bananas, which I think the total of all the Kongs to actually get small bananas is 500. So you pretty much almost have to collect every small banana, or even just get everyone's banana medal in that circumstance. So. But I will say that the game is a bit buggy at times. There are actually some points in the game where you can actually clip through the walls, which is kind of fun to do in some cases. Like hell, I kind of clipped through the Fairy Banana Isle because normally for to enter inside Banana Fairy Isle, you need Tiny and Mini Monkey, which is the tiny ability barrel, and basically Tiny goes tiny to enter the little thing. But basically, as DK, you can just kind of like clip through like the ground a little bit and enter it that way. So you can get the shockwave ability like almost immediately. Go for any of the dirt patches and just kind of collect money for everybody like at the start, which is pretty nice. And there's also ways to like get to certain areas as well. Like I've actually glitched the game to a certain point to where like I was actually able to save every other Kong before Diddy, which in most like if you just play the game normally, it is pretty much impossible to save any of the other Kongs without saving Diddy first because, well, for one of the reasons, you can't even enter level 2 without Diddy. You can pretty much complete level 1 without Diddy, but like the Golden Banana requirements, you need like you won't be able to access certain areas in Jungle Japes to actually get the rest of the Golden Bananas you need unless like you free him. So yeah, that was one of the problems, but I was able to make it through. But yeah, another reason why people describe this as a bad game because of its bugs and everything. And obviously some of the controls aren't perfect and everything, so, you know, there's all that. And basically another good reason to also collect the blueprints, not just for golden bananas, but basically Snide will, like, once you reach Hideout Helm, you have to, like, shut down the machine within a certain amount of time, which he's able to block with the blueprints you've acquired, which if you give him like every single blueprint, which there's 5 within each level, and well, I guess also in TK Isle, but yeah, he can technically block the Blastomatic for like 50 minutes at max, but if you don't give him any blueprints, I think he can only block it for like 10 minutes, so yeah. It's not too bad. You kind of just have to go through like the level a little bit, then you enter like where the machine is, and then you have to do 2 sets of mini games with each of the Kongs just to shut it down, pretty much. I didn't mention the mini games before as well, but like mini games are like you can actually like get some golden bananas with these certain mini games, which they're normally like mini game barrels, which they have a picture of the golden banana on them, so they show you that, oh, okay, you get a gold banana after completing whatever's in this barrel, pretty much, which is a mini game normally. So, luckily the tag barrel mini games aren't too bad. Well, the ones in Hideout Helm, they're not too bad to beat, honestly. But like, there's one certain mini game, which is Beaver Bother, which is probably like one of the most buggiest and worst minigames out there, and I know I've experienced it. Basically, you're a claptrap, and you have to try to get all the beavers in the hole, which sometimes, like, because there's a little hole in the center, and you want to, like, chase them in. But the thing is, if you're, like, chasing them directly in them, even if they're, like, walking, like, towards the hole, like, they might be, like, on the edge of the hole, they're walking, and it's almost like there's an invisible wall there sometimes, and it's, like, so stupid. It's so stupid and insane. And I think if you want to, like, 100% the game, you have to do this mini game 3 times, which, luckily, the last 2 aren't until, like, level 7 in Creepy Castle, but yikes. Like, I still have a little bit of problems with that, but not as much, since I kind of know one of the ways to beat it, which normally, like, to avoid, like, them getting stuck in the hole and not, like, falling in, basically, if you chase them from the side, they should fall in a lot more easier. So, yeah, that's something that I kind of learned within the past, but, yeah. Honestly, I've pretty much enjoyed the game for years. Well, at some moments. Obviously, some I want to rip out my own hair. But, you know, it's definitely a fun experience. And also one of the reasons why I want a DK64 remake. Which, they could also, like, improve the game so it's not as buggy, you know? That's also another thing. But yeah, the funny thing is, it is possible for them to make something like this, like a 3D Donkey Kong game again. Because the fact is that so many other games have went, like, 3D open world lately. Like, there's Kirby in the Forgotten Land. I know that's not as much open world, but it technically is. You have Sonic Frontiers, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and you also have Tears of the Kingdom that came out recently. Well, I guess not recently, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it is possible, especially since DK, or there hasn't been really any Donkey Kong games since Tropical Freeze, and I think that released on the Wii U, like, back in 2014 or something, and then got ported over to the Switch in 2017, so, yeah. But yeah, with DK64, I also had a few other games, like Mario Party 3, Pokemon Stadium, like, yeah. I had some of them for a good little while. And funny enough, I thought the N64 was my first console that I owned, but apparently not. Apparently the GameCube was. I was very surprised. But yeah, I think I remember I was like maybe 14 when I first completed the game for the first time. And the thing is, I think I saw like the final boss already on YouTube, which was obviously going up against K. Rool in a boxing round. Which basically, yeah, that's what the final boss is. Like after, like, once you have the chance to actually face K. Rool, you go through 5 rounds with each of the Kongs going up against K. Rool, using some of their certain abilities to defeat him, and yeah. Which, obviously, it's pretty much the order of Kongs, pretty much, which is DK, Diddy, Lanky, Tiny, Chunky, pretty much, so, yeah, for the end part. And the thing is, I guess the running gag is, like, for each of the Kongs to fight them is that the, I guess Kremlins are like the bell ringers, and obviously K. Rool keeps getting saved by the bell. Which luckily by the 4th round, they accidentally break it, and, that means Chunky's fight is the last one, so, yeah. But I guess that's it, pretty much talked about all I could even talk about what the game's about and all that, so, you know, if you like collectathons, this game's for you. I will say there is, like, a certain, like, DK64 actually does have a randomizer. I haven't actually done one myself, but I've been watching some other people play it, and it's very interesting. It does make the game a lot easier to go through, and you don't have to do some certain, like, mini games as well, so that's kind of helpful. But, like, it's kind of interesting because then you kind of start, like, you can kind of start off the game with, like, random Kongs as well. Like, you don't technically have to start with DK with the randomizer, which normally within the main game, yes, you always start with Donkey Kong. So, it'll be interesting to actually, like, go around and, like, just with different Kongs that you normally save at later times. Which, one of the things I accomplished, like I said, in the main, like in the vanilla game, is actually saving everyone before Diddy. which normally, if you play the game normally, you would have to have both DK and Diddy before you could save anybody else, so, yeah. I think it is possible to, like, maybe save everyone else before Donkey Kong, but I think that one's a bit more complex. I don't know if I'll actually, like, try it one day, but it's out there. But, yeah. But yeah, randomizer seemed fun. I might try it at some point in the future. I don't know. The thing is, I have to get an EverDrive for it, which you can put in a micro SD card, which I don't think I have an extra one lying around. I thought I did, but no. I'd have to also order it online, too. So, yeah. But once I do, I'll definitely do it for the main... Well, at least I'll do one round for it on the channel, and then maybe I'll keep doing it for the challenge channel at one point, so, yeah. Anyways, I think this is where we're going to end things here. I've actually rambled on a lot longer than some of the other ones, other episodes, but you know what? DK64 has a special place in my heart, so, you know. Anyways, that's a good cut for this episode, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this podcast, press the like button or subscribe to whatever. You know, see you dudes in the next video and or podcast. See you dudes next time.